So welcome to the Church of the Spirit. I'm Pastor Elizabeth Cichocki, and we are continuing the 7 Deadly Sins series that we started a couple of weeks ago. The devil is being interviewed for a job. After reviewing his resume, HR asks, anything on your resume besides the 7 deadly sins? And then go over. So I believe God's or infinite intelligence's nature is love. The opposite of love is sin, or to miss the mark where we were aiming for in life. Spiritualism views sin as a misunderstanding of natural law. Spiritualism views sin and emphasizes personal responsibility and the consequences of one's actions. So many people have heard of the 7 deadly sins. They are also known as the 7 thoughts that could destroy the life of a monk. These 7 deadly sins are pride, avarice, which is greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, and sloth. I'm going to refer to these as the thoughts because this aligns more with spiritualism. So I'll be honest, those who weren't here last week or the last time I did this series, what really flopped in my sermon was trying to match the 7 deadly sins to the 7 dwarfs. Snow White and the 7 dwarfs. So now I have another comparison and hope this one makes more sense. We're matching those poor abandoned folks on Gilligan's Island. So let's have a little fun today. I'm going to ask which it's somebody's birthday today? Sorry. That's okay. So I'm going to ask which sin is most connected with one of the people on Gilligan's Island. And it could be Gilligan, Skipper, the professor, Marianne, Ginger, Thurston Howell III, and his wife, Lovey. So feel free to say your answer out loud if you want. Okay? So which sin do you think represents Gilligan? Sloth, because Gilligan was always trying to get out of work, so he's sloth, okay? So which sin do you think represents the skipper? Okay. Wrath. Wasn't he angry? He's angry at Gilligan a lot. Okay. So, which sin represents the professor? Greed. You would think so, but it's not actually. Pride. Pride, exactly. Who said pride? Yes, good job. Good job. This should be easy. Which sin represents Ginger? Okay, I'll say it, lust. Which sin represents Lovey? This one might not be so easy. Gluttony. She always wanted things, right? She always wanted things. Which sin represents Marianne? If Ginger was like that, and Marianne wasn't like that, Marianne had envy. She wanted to be like Ginger. Now is whoever said the last one, which sin represents Thurston? That would be avarice or greed, right? So, okay. So we'll move on from there. I hope you had fun with that. I'll talk about a couple of the negative thoughts or deadly sins in more detail in this sermon, and then I'll cover a few others in my next sermon. Today I'll be talking about wrath and envy. So wrath means quick to anger, having a hot triggered temper. Wrath is a word that packs a punch and an emotion that at some point I think we've all wrestled with. It can surge like a tempest, leaving a path of destruction, or simmer quietly, building pressure for time. But is wrath purely a negative force? Or can it perhaps serve as a tool for growth, insight, even inspiration? Wrath can come from outside events. We all know, like, we're stuck in a traffic jam, right? Or maybe something at work, somebody said something that you didn't agree with. Or from inside ourselves, like worries or bad memories. Anger is a natural response to threats. It really prepares us to defend ourselves. You know, the fight or flight response. Some anger is necessary for survival. But we can't act aggressively every time we get angry. Laws and social rules limit how we express our anger. So in looking into this, I found there's like 3 main ways that we can deal with anger. We can express our anger. We can suppress it, keep it down, keep it to ourselves. Or we can calm down. The healthiest ways to express anger calmly and assertively is clearly saying what we need without hurting others. Being assertive means being respectful, but not aggressive. But then there's some people that suppress anger and try to turn it into something positive. But if anger is pushed down too much, it can lead to problems like stress, high blood pressure, or depression. Unexpressed anger can also show up as passive-aggressive behavior, constant criticism, or a hostility. Another way is to calm ourselves down by slowing down our breathing, relaxing our body, and change our thoughts. If anger isn't managed, someone can get hurt. The goal of anger management isn't to remove anger completely. It is to control how we respond to it. We can calm ourselves down, ask ourselves, how you doing? And we can answer ourselves positively. We are at peace. In a sleepy small town, there was an art gallery known for its vast collection of magnificent portraits. But there was one portrait that was unique. The portrait of ire. The painting depicted a man, his face contorted in raw anger, veins popping, eyes bloodshot, and hands clenched. Its sheer intensity was palpable, making the onlookers feel a sudden rush of anger within themselves. Rumor said that this portrait was cursed. Anyone who gazed upon it would be consumed by anger. Despite the warning signs placed around the gallery, many brave souls attempted to challenge the legend, only to leave the gallery fuming, snapping at anyone in their path. One day, a calm and composed psychologist walked into the gallery. She had heard of the portrait of Eyre, and being a woman of science, wanted to study the effects firsthand. She approached the portrait and stared directly into its angry eyes. Minutes turned into hours, but the psychologist's demeanor didn't change. The gallery staff watched in amazement as she became the first person to stare at the portrait without being affected. When she finally turned away, the curator approached her and asked, "How did you resist the anger? No one has ever managed to do that." The psychologist smiled. The anger in the portrait is real, but it's just a reflection. It draws out suppressed anger from within us. All these years, I've practiced mindfulness and self-awareness. I've addressed my angers, fears, and traumas. The portrait could not draw out anything that wasn't there. What is the message of this story? The portrait wasn't cursed. It was a mirror reflecting the unresolved anger in its viewers. The psychologist's resilience was a testament to her inner peace and power of self-awareness. From then on, the gallery started hosting mindfulness sessions, transforming from a mere art gallery into a sanctuary of peace. Excuse me. And what became of the portrait of Eyre? Well, as you know, it was once feared. It became a benchmark for those seeking to understand and conquer their own anger. So when we feel angry, we may want to ask ourselves, will this matter in a week? Is this really important? Is this worth losing my peace over? Anger often hides hurt or sadness. Instead of ignoring it, take time to face those feelings calmly. Anger can cover pain. One way to look at it is to take our sadness to breakfast and have courage to face it. Give it time and attention. The next deadly sin or negative thought that I'll discuss is envy. Envy is having a selfish sadness at the prosperity of others. And sometimes it includes a desire to destroy it. Envy says, if I can't have it, No one should. Most people don't like to admit that they feel envy because it shows insecurity and selfishness. But envy can hurt because it targets the good in others, their success, talent, family, or happiness. And we know it's the opposite of love, because love is happy for others. Envy feels bitter when others do well. Envy also comes from insecurity, the feeling that we are not good enough. When someone we envy fails, some people may secretly feel pleased. But real friendship means being happy when others succeed, even if we fail. We all feel envy sometimes. It usually starts with thoughts like, that's not fair, or why not me? Envy can divide people, damage relationships, and create bitterness. Overcoming it takes awareness and effort. If a smile brightens a face and lifts the vibration in the room, envy sours the mouth, uglies the eyes, and dampens the joy in any gathering. So where does envy come from? Buddhists would say it's from our erroneous perception that we are separate from one another. But then envy is to be human. Envy is something we all have in common, and something we all had to struggle with at one time or another. And if we say we're not envious, we should immediately begin to think about what we are not noticing about ourselves. So for example, look at our school system. We envy those who make good grades and win awards. So in time, we work within the educational system to make sure standards are lowered and everyone gets a grade A. And that's called grade inflation. Some schools even refuse to assign grades to students because they look upon the students and their parents as customers and don't want to offend them. And I'm assuming that's private schools. My friend told me this story about her life as a child. Whenever the children in the house complained about a new toy that a friend received but they didn't get, or moped about an honor that went to a classmate and they felt that it should have gone to them, or even when they pointed out an unfair amount of attention given to another sibling in the family, her parents handled it in this way. They told their children, don't be envious of what another person has or gets. After hearing this phrase many times when she was growing up, she finally understood what that meant as an adult. So how do we overcome the envy we feel? First, we must begin by acknowledging our envy. It is natural for us to insist that we are not envious. Not me. But if the desire of our heart is to truly become free from negative thoughts, then we need to humble ourselves and acknowledge the truth. One remedy is to be more loving, which sounds easy until one is faced with the fact that someone else got the promotion that we wanted at work. The best path away from envy is to develop gratitude. And this could be on a daily basis. Gratitude for everything we have, big and small. Or we can meditate on what we have right now. Imagine being so grateful that we rejoice for others. Imagine being free to truly care and love others when good things happen to them. It takes conscious work to become free from envy. Why are wrath and envy so terrible for us? It is because they waste our time and opportunities and steal our joy. Imagine if we spent more time growing our virtues instead. The 7 negative thoughts give us a place to start, looking honestly at ourselves. But remember not to punish ourselves if we feel we cannot accomplish these goals. We may feel we cannot live up to our true potential, but we can find fulfillment at work, at school, and in our relationships and families. Part of not feeling envious or wrathful towards people for what they have is accepting our morals and virtues as part of ourselves. Tell ourselves the truth, realizing that we could lose all our possessions in an instant, but we can never lose our sense of self. Be grateful for the things we do have and for the things we want, and set realistic goals. Amen.
Amen. Yeah.